Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for week 3 of Restart. If I haven't had the privilege of meeting you yet, or if this is your first time actually tuning in to Anything Life Church, my name is Ron, and I am just so excited to actually have the opportunity to meet you, not technically physically, but maybe one day. And I'm excited because this is technically my first time here speaking at Life Church. And depending on what it say, it could be my last, but we're just going to go for it and just kind of see what happens. And if you're wondering where we're at, this is actually one of my favorite places, CrossFit Winter Garden. And if you're waiting for quarantine to end and for gyms to open back up just to get back in shape, this is the best place to do it. But the reason that I actually brought us here today is because I figured this was the perfect setting to talk about our topic today, which is restarting our health. And before you click out of this video, it's not just going to be one of those things where I tell you that you need to eat healthy and that you need to exercise. But I actually want to look at how can we be the healthiest version of ourselves, not just physically, but also spiritually and mentally. And maybe you've struggled with one of those three areas or all of those. Maybe it's that physical health where this quarantine started and you were actually eating good, and then you went to the frozen section, try to get some frozen vegetables during this quarantine, and they were all gone. So you ended up leaving with two different kind of flavors of ice cream, and that's been your diet for the last three weeks or however long you've been locked up. Or maybe it's that mental aspect where all these negative minds are just filling your head. We've heard Miguel last week during worship talk about how right now in this moment, this is when our negative thoughts are filling our minds the most. And we heard about Pastor Brandt talk about how the use of medication for anxiety and depression are the highest they've ever been. And maybe it's that spiritual aspect. So many of us have preached to other people trying to help them, like, hey, you need to have an active prayer life. You need to stay in the Word. You need to be accountable to people. And now we're in this time where we've lost our jobs and we just feel useless, and we don't really know what to do with our time. And we have no idea how to practice what we've been preaching to other people. So we're struggling in that aspect. But whatever it is, how can we become the healthiest version of ourselves? And I want to look at what Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Paul uses this analogy of an athlete, of how we should train our bodies and how we should be prepared. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24, it says, "Don't you realize that in a race, everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away. But we do it for an eternal prize. So I run with purpose in every step. I'm not just shadowboxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I might be disqualified." So Paul uses this analogy of an athlete to show us how we should prepare ourselves. And he uses this one word, discipline. Discipline is just the core of everything. I do what I do, and I keep doing it because I need to be disciplined. Eventually, over time, we'll see change in our lives. And so discipline is important for a few reasons, and I want to kind of give you those right now. It's discipline develops your character that shines in the dark. That moment when times are tough and the pressures of this world are squeezing you, what pours out of you? What's going to pour out of you? It's going to be hate, negativity, or it's going to be positive love. It's just what have I instilled in my life that in these dark times is going to come out of me? And discipline also develops change that people can't deny. Kind of like a person on a weight loss journey. You can tell after a while when someone's been on this nice diet and been exercising. They can just walk in a room. They don't have to tell you. You can just see it for yourself that there's something different about them. And you just like, hey, I got to know what have you been doing? And discipline also develops faith people desire. It's that moment where there's something different about them. What is it? I need to have that. I need to know what it is so I can have it. And I actually want to look at a story in the Old Testament about a man named Job. And if you've never read this story before, I encourage you to go read it. It's spelled a lot like the word job, but right now I just kind of want to give you the Spark Notes version and just kind of start out what we might call the American dream with the perfect family and that family pet and the house with the white picket fence around it. Job kind of had that Old Testament dream. He had the house with the land and all the animals and all the workers, and he had the family with all the kids, and he had the perfect health. And he loved God. God even describes Job as a man of complete integrity. And starting in chapter 1, we see that God and Satan kind of had this conversation. And eventually, Satan ends up telling God, the only reason that Job loves you so much is because you've protected him his whole life. And eventually, we know that God allows Satan to put Job through a couple tests. And the first test is that Satan can attack anything that Job loves or owns. He just can't touch Job. And after the first test, Job ends up losing his house, his land, his workers, his kids. But he still never denies God. He still understands, I understand who God is, and God is still good. And then we get to the second test. And this test, God allows Satan to attack Job. The only thing is he just can't kill him. And Satan attacks Job's health so bad that his skin is covered in these like nasty boils where his closest friends can't even recognize who he is. And it gets to chapter 3 where Job is just so depressed. He's just cursing the day that he was born. Like, God, if this is all you had for me, if this is all my life was supposed to live up to, why was I even born? Why am I even here? But I want to skip over to chapter 6. And it's here that Job gets in this deep state of depression where in verse 9, he's even just like, God, just take my life. If this is all I have, just take my life. I don't even want to be here anymore. But it's the words in verse 10 that Job says. Right after verse 9, Job says this, at least I can take comfort in this. Despite the pain, I have not denied the words of the Holy One. Through discipline, Job trained his faith to understand that no matter what I'm going through, God is exactly who he says he is. And even though our circumstances change, our God remains the same. Even though I look around and there's no one around me, I have a God that sticks closer than skin. And Job understood that, and Job believed that. He said, at least I can take comfort in this. In the moment of losing everything, losing his kids, losing his workers, losing his land, losing his health, Job says, at least I can take comfort in this. I have not denied the words of the Holy One. And God says, I will never leave you or forsake you. I am here with you. I love you. And I desire to have a relationship with you. And Job believed that because he was disciplined throughout his life and he trained his faith to believe that no matter what circumstances came. That was his character. That's what poured out of him in those moments, was that no matter how I feel, no matter what I'm going through, I know that my God is exactly who he says he is. And so maybe you might be struggling with one of these, and maybe you need discipline in your life. So I just want to take this week for us to just start this one discipline. And it's the discipline of saying yes to God and no to me. And it may look different for you and maybe from the rest of your family. Maybe for you it's that physical aspect where it's just saying, all right, God, I know that I need to be healthy physically for my family, that I want to be the best version of me physically. And maybe you need to reach out for help. Maybe it's that mental state where all these negative thoughts are filling your mind and you just, God, I'm useless. Why am I even here? No one loves me. I'm all alone. Let me just encourage you with this. If you believe that Jesus was able to raise from the grave, if you believe he had that power, but that 3 nails were also strong enough to hold him to the cross, we've kind of missed something. The only thing that was strong enough to hold Jesus to the cross was the love that he has for you. And his arms are spread open wide. He's waiting to embrace you in a relationship with you, and he desires to know you, and he loves you. God created you in his image, he says, and he designed you not for a purpose, but for his purpose. He has a purpose for you, and it's to follow him, and it's to do his work, and he wants to have a relationship with you. And maybe it's that spiritual aspect where it's like, I don't know where to start. Where do I even begin reading my Bible? How do I pray? Maybe it's that moment of just actually starting a relationship that Pastor Brant was talking about Sunday. Maybe I never did that. Maybe it's just that moment. It's like, God, yes, I need you. I know I need you. I've been doing this for so long my way and it's not working. I get this temporary satisfaction, but nothing ever lasts. I feel alone. God, I need you. I understand now that I need you now more than ever. Maybe it's that. So that's the discipline I want to start this week, is just for us to simply say yes to God and no to me. John 3:30 says, he must increase, but I must decrease. It's kind of like a seesaw. One has to go up, one has to go down. We can't both be at the same level or else the system is broken. So as we raise God up in our lives, we got to choose to lower ourselves as well. We can't be at the same level. We have to lower ourselves. And that's the discipline that's going to change this week when we say yes to God and no to me. And so for however that looks like for you, we want to do it together. We believe that accountability gives us the best ability to achieve victory together. And just because we're in isolation doesn't mean we have to live in separation. Technology gives us the ability to love people from a distance. No matter where you are, whether you're 6 feet away or 6,000 miles away, we have the ability through technology to do this together. And that's what we want to do. We believe that we were designed for a relationship. And so that's what we want you to reach out. Well, that's right now in the comments. You can just simply type me, or you can put the little hand raise emoji. Or if you're like my boy Cody, you can just say bruh right there in the comments. Or you can even direct message us on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also go over to lifechurchhw.com and you can fill out a connection card there and we can connect with you. And that's what we want to do. We want to do this together. We want to do this with you. We don't just want you to just send you out and just, I hope you make it. But we want to help you be the best version of you. And we want to do this together. We want to do what God has called us to do together. And that's the best way we know how to do that is through relationship. And I just want to thank you again just for joining with us. But I also encourage you to join with us Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time as we continue week 3 of our series, Ain't No Grave, with Pastor Brant. And I just can't wait to see you there online Sunday morning. And thank you again so much for joining with us.